music, R&B, hip hop, pop,
I still get you.
reggae, EDM, indie, old school,
Side. Check it.
and sports talk.
Right here.
WorldStarHitRadio.com.
Welcome to Connecting Atlanta Radio, hosted on the #1 hottest radio station in Atlanta, WorldStarHitRadio.com. We air live every Tuesday from 7:30 p.m. Eastern to 8 o'clock. And we always have amazing guests, but today we have an extra special guest, and we have the director of the SBA, Terri. Welcome to the show, Terri.
Hello, how are you?
I'm awesome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay, a little wet, but other than that, I'm good.
Well, it's a good thing we'll get to dry off in here. I don't have to be stuck out there any longer. So tell us a little bit about, I want to, before we get started with the SBA and so forth, I'd like to know a little bit about you.
Okay.
So how did you get started with the SBA? What was your passion for wanting to get started to work with them, and why have you been with them for so long?
Okay.
3 questions in one.
Okay. Well, in terms of how did I get involved with the SBA, actually it was right out of graduate school. I participated in a federal government program called the Presidential Management Fellows Program.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that was an opportunity for me to pick an agency within the federal government.
Okay.
I always had an interest in like city planning, economic development, and that was an opportunity. I thought, okay, I could understand how individual businesses grow.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I got started, thinking that at some point I would go back to local government and be a planner. But it didn't turn out that way.
And so you've been with the SBA for how long now?
Well, since August of 1987.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you started right outside of high school.
Well, that's good. I like that. No, actually, it was graduate school, but I like to believe that it was high school. But no, it was graduate school.
That's awesome.
And I started off in D.C.
Okay.
And I was there for 9 years.
Oh, wow.
Then I was the deputy state director in Indiana for
Okay.
about 6 years. Had some assignments in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Los Angeles, California. And then I ended up here in May of 2002 as the Georgia State Director.
How did you make it here? Was it just an opportunity that opened up and you
Yes.
decided to come?
Yes.
Have you always wanted to, have you at any point in time you wanted to live in Atlanta or explore it here, or?
Well, it was a city I always, when I visited for various reasons, I always enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
So when the opportunity came, I thought, oh, that would be nice to experience it living here.
Yeah.
And it's also not that far away, just a 2-hour plane ride from my home state of Texas.
Okay. Oh, what part of Texas?
I grew up in Corpus Christi on the coast.
Okay,
And went to
nice.
graduate school in San Antonio.
Oh, nice. Love San Antonio. That is a great city. So now with the SBA, what is the SBA and how does it assist small business owners or individuals looking to start business?
Okay, well, the U.S. Small Business Administration, or the SBA, we're a federal government agency.
Okay.
And we've been around since 1953. And simply put, our mission is to support the economy through supporting the creation and growth of small businesses.
Okay. All right.
Kind of the bulk of what we offer small business in terms of assistance, like to categorize as the 3 C's. Capital access, and we do that through guaranteeing primarily commercial loans.
Right. Okay.
Made
Yep.
by private lenders. We also have a microloan program that provides smaller amounts of capital,
Mm-hmm.
up to $50,000. The
Okay.
second C is counseling and training, and we do some of that in our offices. We also provide that through a variety of resource partners that we support. SCORE, our volunteer partner organization.
Yes, they're awesome. Love SCORE.
Small business development centers. We have a couple of women business centers here in Metro Atlanta.
Okay.
And then we have, let's see, there's one more there. We just got in Statesboro, Georgia, a Veterans Business Opportunity Center.
Awesome.
And then the third C is contracting. And we have a lot of programs and resources to support small business that would like to do business with primarily the federal government, but we've also, in the last few years, tried to think of ways to help small businesses access corporate supply chains as well.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. I think that's really huge, especially because you have a lot of people that are inventors or people that have these really cool products they've created, and it really is hard to get into supply chains and larger organizations and so forth. So if you guys are able to be that bridge between us, I think that's fantastic. So, and to help them with expanding. And I feel like the small businesses is like really a core to helping grow the middle class, you know?
Well, I agree with that, and I think, especially Georgia. I mean, I've been in several places, as I mentioned earlier, but I have to say, of all the places I've been, Georgia by far has been the most entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Everybody thinking about starting a business, they have a business, they want to grow their business, they may have a business in addition to their 9-to-5 job. Just very business savvy and business oriented.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm from South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Miami. They are not that busy savvy or oriented over there. I was talking to a customer the other day, and he's like, "We just cannot get people to work in South Florida. It's like they just come to hang out." So, which is one reason why I decided to leave. So, what are probably some of the common reasons small business owners are not successful? So talking about everybody being successful or wanting to start a business, but not everybody is. So,
of course, the one reason that it always comes to people's mind and is often cited first is lack of capital or insufficient capital
Right.
to get the business either off the ground, or if they're able to get it off the ground, they don't have the funds they need to continue to grow the business.
Right, yeah.
And keep it competitive. But there are other reasons too. A lot of times in talking to people who are struggling, and I hear the story, one thing that I note is that maybe they started off not with the best well-conceived idea.
Right,
They get an idea and they run with the first version of that idea.
Right. I've been known to do that.
Yeah, and of course, what we try to do, especially directly and through our resource partners, is help people sit down and really think through what it is they want to do and what the market is for it. Because that's another thing.
Yes.
People often are very passionate about a particular type of business, but they haven't really thought about, okay, I like this idea, or I like this product or providing this service, but is there a demand for it in the marketplace that people are willing to pay
Right.
Sufficiently to sustain a business enterprise? So I see that as being another reason as well. I would also say too that sometimes internal controls or infrastructure, they're able to generate the revenues, but they don't have the wherewithal or the mechanisms in place to manage the business and its
Right.
resources appropriately. Lack of management skill or expertise in a particular area.
Yeah.
I always think it's interesting. People are like, "I want to start a restaurant." I'm like, "Well, have you ever worked in the restaurant business or been a manager?" "Oh no, I just like to go out and eat and enjoy good food." But
Right.
you have to have experience.
Yeah, it's a completely different.
Or have someone on board that has that experience.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And that's going to be as passionate about your business as you're going to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah. I like to eat, so let me just go ahead and,
And I would say in the long run, even if they're successful starting the business, you can't just set up the business and let it go. You have to continue to see what the marketplace is, what the trends are, what customer trends are, what economic trends are, what trends are in that industry, and stay on the forefront of that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you lose your competitiveness.
So do you think the SBA helps businesses stay on the forefront, or at least understand what the trends are and so forth?
We do work to do that. Once again, going back to our resource partners, I know here in Georgia particularly, the Small Business Development Centers like to focus on existing businesses to help them scale up and continue to grow those businesses and grow jobs and employment opportunities. So that's a source. Also, we have the Emerging Leaders Program.
Okay.
Which is now in its 9th cycle. We were one of the first states to offer it, which is geared towards businesses that have been in operation at least 3 years, have revenues of at least $400,000, and has at least one employee other than the owner.
Right.
And these are businesses that have passed that first stage of startup, but now they're at a point where they need to decide, what do they want the business to be going forward,
Right.
and how to appropriately scale up.
Oh, that's really good. Wow. to be able to make $400,000 a year in the first 3 years, that's you must have had a really good product that people really wanted to buy to grow that quickly. So, well, how can the SBA support entrepreneurs in obtaining capital to start or expand their enterprises?
Okay. One misconception many people have, and once upon a time in a land far, far away, the SBA did provide direct loans. We got out of that model over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
What we do now, as I mentioned earlier, is primarily guarantee loans made by commercial lenders.
Okay.
And what the guarantee does is it's basically a promise to the lender that if they close that loan properly, they administer it properly over its course, and if things still don't work out, we will reimburse the lender a percentage of the balance of the loan, anywhere from 50% all the way up to 90%
Wow.
of the outstanding balance. So of course, by decreasing the exposure of the lender, decreasing their risk, the idea, one, it helps increase the chances of that small business loan being approved.
Right.
And then it also allows the lender to feel a little more comfortable maybe making the loan on terms that they wouldn't normally make them under in their conventional underwriting criteria. For example, a working capital loan, maybe traditionally they would do it for 3 to 4 years. Under SBA guidelines, they could offer that same working capital loan for up to 10 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so that gives the borrower smaller loan payments over the course of time. They don't have to worry about a big balloon payment at the end.
Yeah.
So that really helps them to be able to manage their cash flow and have resources they can then devote to other parts of the business and to the overall growth of that company.
That's awesome. And so going back to restaurants or companies that actually have machinery and different things, a lot of people don't know you can take loans out against that machinery called equipment leasing, right? Loans, right?
Well, we don't get into leasing
No.
that part necessarily, but what the SBA really, our bailiwick is the term loan.
Okay,
So,
okay.
For example, like long life machinery equipment, we do have a program that can provide financing for production type equipment.
Okay.
Useful life of 10 years or more.
Right. Oh, that's nice. Okay. All right. Awesome. And then where can our listeners go to learn about and get some more information on SBA's and its programs and resources?
Okay, well, our primary resource is the SBA's official website, which is sba.gov, and their visitors to the website can get more detailed information on all of our programs and services.
SBA.gov.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can also take advantage of our online training center. We have over 50 online courses covering a variety of topics about starting and managing a growing business.
That's awesome.
How to do business with the federal government, how to do market research. We also have some tools that are helpful, such as our business plan tool, which allows you to build a business plan
right
on the SBA
which helps
website.
you to, it goes back to like letting people know, okay, this is a viable business, will I be able to get funding for it? So do you think maybe like when someone wanted to go and get funding, can you talk about how the SBA helps businesses get it set up and prepare to get that loan?
Sure. One of the main things we try to do is to educate people. We try to educate them, and because preparation is so important when you're going to a lender.
Right. And I'm looking up one of our other questions while you're answering
no problem.
that.
So we have classes at our district office. We also have a couple of online courses that deal with what the lender looks for, what type of documentation, why is that important in the lending process. And then they can also work with our resource partners, SCORE, Small Business Development Centers, Women Business Centers, to help them review their business plan, to help them with their financial projections so that they can come up with numbers that make sense, and really just have a nice objective third party eye to that plan. Because sometimes you get a little too close to it, and if it's something you haven't done before, it's good to go to experts. And the important thing is the counseling resources, be it us, be it the Small Business Development Center, SCORE, Women's Business Centers, etc., are free of charge.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and especially like with SCORE, because I've worked with them and done some workshops with them and so forth, and they do have a great mentorship program, which a lot of people don't take advantage of for some weird reason. It's crazy when it's free and you have someone like in a specific skill set. I was telling your publicist earlier that when I had my other company, I had and it was like my first traditional business that I had, and I had reached out to SCORE. A friend of mine had told me about SCORE, and I reached out to them and used their mentorship program for a little bit, which I thought was awesome. So passionate to be able to help others. So I think that's great what you do, and the fact that you've been intricate part of the SBA and helping business owners and being able to offer back and help run that organization. So I know you're a hard woman to be able to get in touch with, though. So one of our guests, so I have a group on Facebook. We have around 6,500 members in it called Connecting in Atlanta. And one of our guests asked, when I posted up the flyer, what are some common mistakes you see new entrepreneurs make when they first, it's not get out, I guess that's what it's saying, when they're first starting their business?
I think the two main ones would be, or the three main ones, of course, not one, the business concept. The business concept is just not tight enough and not really vetted that there is a viable market for that product or service. Two, I would say it would be not, kind of related to that, little or no business planning.
Business plan,
And then as it relates to access to capital, either they don't have enough really to even get it off the ground, but what often happens is they'll get money, the amount they need to open the door.
Okay.
They say, okay, I figured it out, I need $50,000 to open the door. And they think, okay, by the end of the week I will have recouped that 50 and then some.
Right.
And it doesn't quite work that way. So one of the things you have to project, and what our resource partners can help with, is how do you figure out, roughly based on that industry and your market situation, approximately how long it's going to take to break even. And then make sure that you include in your financing plan that the funds to cover the costs, especially your fixed costs, because you're going to have to pay them regardless of whether you're bringing in money or not. So I definitely see that as one. And then once again, sometimes maybe the infrastructure, not growing it at the appropriate rate. So as the business grows, sometimes you be careful what you ask for. If you do really well and you're not ready for it, then it's really setting you up to eventually have a decline because you can't keep up with the demand. And a lot of people don't, I guess they surprise themselves. What I tell people with business plans, come up with 3 scenarios. We always like to build a business plan maybe around the most likely scenario, but build it around what's the most likely, but also what if things don't go according to plan? What if your projections are below, say, 10% lower or 20% lower than what you expected? And this is where breaking even analysis is important, because then you can figure out at one point, okay, this is not going to work, and we're going to have to really do some soul searching and figure out what do we want to try to continue with this enterprise or go in a totally different direction, etc. But also, if you do better than expected, how are you going to take those resources and keep them in the business, hopefully invest them into infrastructure that can continue to support even more growth?
Right, because you don't want to end up getting stuck later on. So that's really smart. I learned a lot today. I learned a lot, audience. This is why we bring guests like Terri on to the show. So is there any have you guys ever done any kind of mentorship inside of your inside of the office at all, or is everything more online kind of resource based?
We don't necessarily have mentorship as such. We do offer some training, what I call very niche training, very specific, like maybe how to start a certain type of business. We've done that. We've done a training regularly on how to prepare, for an SBA backed loan. Trying to help them understand how the guarantee works what lenders are looking for and really walk them through that. For those who are interested in doing business with the federal government, we have several things that we do in-house to really kind of sit down and maybe in a different way or try to have a slightly different approach to how we do it.
Okay.
You know, because other of our resource partners will offer similar training, so we try not to compete with them.
Mm-hmm.
So they may do very broad subjects on how to start a business or how to operate or whatever, whereas we might do something that's very specific to our programs or a specific aspect of starting and operating a business.
Okay. And do you guys ever help with I know it's like nonprofits and stuff, there's so many grants out there for nonprofits, but are there any, do you know of any grants out there for for-profit businesses?
I know that, yeah, no, there isn't. I know there, even though I haven't seen them in a while, so maybe people have finally caught on and the books aren't selling anymore. But, you know, there have been those in the past who've been out there at 2 o'clock in the morning selling their books on all this free money that the federal government has. And the reality is, if you hear grant and small business or business in the same sentence, there's one of two things happening. Either one, it's really a grant, like a contract.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not here's $50,000 to do whatever you need to do with your business. It's like, okay, the grantor has a specific mission or program they need implemented. And these monies will be used to do that. So they have certain expectations as to the outcomes, benchmarks, etc.
Right.
So it's really the grantor that defines how those monies are used and what you're trying to do with them.
Right.
It's either that scenario or two, maybe there are grants available that can go to a third party, such as a nonprofit organization or to a local government, then that can then use those monies to create, say, a loan fund. But it's not going to be a grant directly to a small business to kind of use however that business sees fit.
Right. Now, when you have, one other question I was wondering is, if you have business owners that are working full-time jobs and they're wanting to start a business on the side to eventually replace their income, what are usually some suggestions that you provide for business owners like that? And also some business owners are like, okay, I'm ready to quit my job, or, you know, what are some suggestions that you provide in regards to like when they should be able to make that transition?
Yeah. I know that question comes up a lot because, you know, you don't want to lose your security.
Right,
until
exactly.
You know.
Right.
Something someone shared with me several years ago, and it really makes sense, that what you can do as the business grows, see if you can live off of the salary or the income from that business and bank your job salary away.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
And when you get to the point where you don't have to dip into the bank account to access the funds from your salary position, and you can cover everything from your salary that you're giving yourself from your business, then that could be an indicator that you're ready to launch.
That's true, because so many times, like, you could make that transition too early, and then you end up putting so much pressure on your business, your customers, just yourself, like everyone around you, that it just ends up collapsing because you're just so intense, and everyone just feels like that desperation inside you, like, I need to pay my rent.
Yeah.
The mortgage company doesn't care that my business took a dip this month, you know.
And it's a tough dilemma because, you know, it comes almost like a chicken and egg scenario. You know, if you're spending all your time with your salary position, then at some point you're not really giving the attention and nurture to the business.
Right.
Yeah. And even though that what I pointed out was something I thought was a great piece of advice, entrepreneurs by definition are risk takers.
Yes,
so
I would agree with that.
It's kind of a real test at what point that you're able to take.
I was just seeing if anyone else had any other questions. And is there any last thing that you would like to share with the audience today?
I think the main thing is, you know, if you have an idea you've been kind of vetting or thinking about in your mind, we are available with Small Business Administration. Our offices are resource partners there to help you work through that idea and maybe inspire you to go ahead and take those steps to get a business off the ground.
Yeah, and I really think that people should take advantage of it. I mean, if you're creative and you're wanting to get something started, and then you definitely need to reach out. The SBA.gov and look at all their resource centers that they have available, including the Women's Center, which actually helps both men and women, ironically enough, and also SCORE and a bunch of your other resource centers that you have. And hopefully connecting Atlanta at some point. Hint, hint.
and what they want to do also too is sign up for our email alerts.
Oh yes, definitely. So how do they do that?
They can actually go to our website. If you want to sign up specifically for Georgia stuff, go to sba.gov/GA for Georgia.
Okay,
And that takes
easy
you
enough.
to the Georgia District Office website, and just go to the, sign up for email alerts.
Because then what that'll do is let you know of any upcoming workshops and stuff like that, online, offline,
New programs,
yeah. Resources and stuff like that have gotten started. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I mean, I've been hunting for you for a couple years now. And
now you found me.
And I'm glad that connection through a lady I know at church, and I was able to reconnect. And
Great.
so I feel honored that you took your time to come out and bless my show. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Everyone, thank you so much for listening in today to Connecting Atlanta Radio, hosted on the #1 hit radio station, worldstarhitradio.com, every Tuesday from 7:30 p.m. to 8. And you'll be able to see us, our archive station, through connectingatlanta.net. And if you haven't yet, sign up for our workshop we have coming up this coming Saturday at the Ponce de Leon Library from 1:30 to 3:30 on how to build business credit. And have an amazing day.
The hottest music, R&B, hip hop, pop,
I still get you.
reggae, EDM, indie, old school,
Side. Check it.
and sports talk.
Right here.
WorldStarHitRadio.com.